I am the trash laughed at by the entire cultivation world. While my younger sister is a super supreme genius possessing the supreme bone. But not only did she not despise me. Instead she silently protected me for over a decade. And even joined the ethereal immortal sect to obtain cultivation resources for me. But what everyone doesn't know is, I possess the templates of 99 genius powerhouses from the myriad worlds. As long as I unlock these templates, I can obtain the abilities of the corresponding powerhouses. However, unlocking the first template requires consuming a massive amount of energy, which resulted in me being branded with the title of trash for the past decade or so. Fortunately, by utilizing the cultivation resources my sister sent over the years, I finally awakened the first template today. That is the martial ancestor Lin Dong template from the martial universe world. But just when I was rejoicing that I finally had the ability to protect my sister, I received the news that she had been killed. At this moment I was experiencing the sensation brought by my cultivation, advancing by leaps and bounds. When a woman's voice came from outside the door. I am very familiar with this voice. It belongs to my only good friend in this Mingyun sect, Zhuge Linglong. Hearing Zhuge Linglong's anxious shouts from outside, I raised my hand and waved my robe to open the quaint mahogany door. Your sister is dead. Seeing the wooden door open, Zhuge Linglong hurriedly ran straight in. And when I heard Zhuge Linglong's words I was instantly stunned, only recovering my senses after a long while, and said seriously to Zhuge Linglong, Linglong, this joke isn't funny. Who's joking with you? I'm telling you the truth. Seeing that I didn't believe her, Zhuge Linglong hurriedly recounted the entire sequence of events. It turned out that Zhuge Linglong had just returned from the ethereal immortal sect. Because she is the eldest young miss of the Zhuge family, she received VIP treatment at the ethereal immortal sect. And this also allowed Zhuge Linglong to overhear an incredible secret message, which was that the current sect master of the ethereal immortal sect, Qin Tianming, had actually stepped into the Sendai realm. More importantly, Qin Tianming's breakthrough this time did not rely on himself at all, but rather by sacrificing the one he took in as a personal disciple many years ago, Lin Yue, digging out her bone and grafting it onto his own body. Qin Tianming utilized Lin Yue's supreme bone to forcibly elevate himself to the Sendai realm. You need to calm down. The ethereal immortal sect has its roots in the upper realm. Not only does the sect have tens of thousands of Sea of Bitterness realm disciples, but there are also quite a few Four Extremities realm and Dragon Transformation realm powerhouses. That Qin Tianming, having stolen your sister's supreme bone, has even reached the Sendai realm. He is absolutely not someone you can contend with right now. After Zhuge Linglong finished saying everything, she saw my eyes turn bloodshot. And as my whole body trembled, my killing intent condensed into physical substance. The terrifying spiritual energy directly leveled the entire house into nothingness. I ignored Zhuge Linglong's words of persuasion. My own sister had her bone stolen and died tragically. How could I possibly stay calm? In the next second I vanished directly from in front of Zhuge Linglong. At this moment I was slicing through the heavy cloud layers at an extreme speed, leaving behind streaks of spatial rifts wherever I passed. And where I was heading was precisely the direction of the ethereal immortal sect. Didn't he just open his Sea of Bitterness? Gazing at the disappearing figure, Zhuge Linglong stood in place, opening her mouth wide in disbelief. The feeling I just gave her was not that of a cultivator who had merely opened their Sea of Bitterness, but rather the peak of the third stage of the Four Extremities realm. But even with the strength of the peak of the third stage of the Four Extremities realm, trying to forcibly oppose the ethereal immortal sect was still wishful thinking. I must go find my father. Thinking of this, Zhuge Linglong hurriedly ran towards another direction of the Mingyun sect. Meanwhile, I executed the Tai Qin heaven roaming steps, flying through the void. Qin Tianming, I will kill you. At this moment, with bloodshot eyes, I roared from my mouth. Although I hadn't perfectly integrated the template yet, my strength had already reached the peak of the third stage of the Four Extremities realm. Relying on various martial arts, I was confident in my ability to fight against a Dragon Transformation realm powerhouse. That Qin Tianming had just stepped into the Sendai realm from the peak of the Dragon Transformation realm, so his realm was clearly unstable at this moment. I knew that now was the best opportunity to slay Qin Tianming. In the blink of an eye, what appeared before my eyes was a sect established amidst thousands of mountain ranges. This was the ethereal immortal sect. Looking at this sect appearing before my eyes, the killing intent in my eyes grew even stronger. Qin Tianming, roll out here right now. Flying above the ethereal immortal sect, I cursed angrily at the below. While speaking, I raised my hand and formed seals. In an instant, dark clouds surged across the sky, and terrifying spiritual energy fluctuations forcibly tore apart the sect planes below. Under countless astonished gazes, everyone only saw a massive index finger above the void break through the dark clouds, pressing down towards the sect. Great desolation, imprisoning heavenly finger. First finger imprisons heaven and earth. The massive index finger was condensed into physical substance by spiritual energy, and the entire heaven and earth were shrouded in darkness. Looking at such a terrifying celestial phenomenon, a touch of panic emerged on everyone's faces. Which junior actually dares to come to my ethereal immortal sect to insult our sect master? You simply don't know the meaning of death. Looking at that finger covering the sky and sun, a white-robed elder of the ethereal immortal sect flew out from the main hall. He stood in front of me, his eyes full of disdain. Who is the newcomer? If you quickly withdraw your martial arts, today's matter can be settled by you leaving behind an arm. If not, you will definitely find death without life today. At this moment, the current sect master Qin Tianming was in seclusion, stabilizing his foundation. So the ethereal immortal sect didn't want to provoke extra trouble. Facing the newcomer's words, I paid absolutely no attention. Raising my hand, I forcefully pressed the great desolation imprisoning heavenly finger in the void downwards. As the great desolation imprisoning heavenly finger fell, the clouds and mist lingering around the ethereal immortal sect were blown away in an instant, and countless spaces shattered one after another. For a time, panic spread among the people within the ethereal immortal sect. A mere peak third stage of the four extremities realm dares to act wildly at the ethereal immortal sect. You really are tired of living. After sensing my cultivation level, the white-robed elder's aura skyrocketed, and his cultivation at the peak of the first stage of the dragon transformation realm was fully revealed. Heavenly profound cloud-extinguishing palm. The white-robed elder stood above the void, and as he struck out a giant palm condensed from azure blue spiritual energy crashed straight towards that finger. In merely an instant, that giant azure blue palm was pierced right through by the finger. And before that white-robed elder even had time to react, he was directly pressed by the great desolation imprisoning heavenly finger onto the ethereal immortal sect's protective grand array. People had already gathered inside the ethereal immortal sect. They didn't know how many years it had been since anyone dared to attack the ethereal immortal sect all alone. Extinguish. Accompanied by my single word spat out. The white-robed elder at the peak of the first stage of the dragon transformation realm directly dissipated into nothingness. Second finger shatters mountains and rivers. I knew deeply that the first finger of the great desolation, imprisoning heavenly finger, was absolutely impossible to break the ethereal immortal sect's protective grand array. Therefore I immediately executed the second finger of the great desolation, imprisoning heavenly finger. In a split second the sound of space shattering rang out. Amidst this sound, a pitch-black giant finger even thicker than the previous one tore through the sky, and then shot viciously towards the ethereal immortal sect's protective grand array. The moment of impact, the earth instantly began to tremble, and the entire ethereal immortal sect started shaking violently. As the second finger tapped with full force, the ethereal immortal sect's protective grand array was directly broken open just like that. The storm swept across the ground, and instantly half of the entire ethereal immortal sect was destroyed. An unknown number of people died in the aftermath of these two fingers. Seeing this scene, I immediately flew towards the main hall of the ethereal immortal sect. There I sensed the aura of my sister Lin Yue. Thief, do not trespass into our immortal sect's main hall. However, just as I was about to fly into the main hall, 8 streams of spiritual energy suddenly flew over from the 8 floating peaks surrounding the ethereal immortal sect. The newcomers were none other than the 8 peak elders of the ethereal immortal sect. Their strengths were all at the peak of the third stage of the dragon transformation realm. Blocked from descending, I looked with bloodshot eyes at the 5 men and 3 women before me. For a time, killing intent surged into my heart once again. I had finally sensed my sister's aura with great difficulty. Yet you 8 animals actually dare to stop me. So what if you are at the peak of the third stage of the dragon transformation realm? I'll kill you all the same. Everyone be careful. This brat cannot be underestimated. When he just killed old Su, he was still at the peak of the third stage of the four extremities realm. But right now he actually shows a tendency of breaking through to the fourth stage. Looking at the several people in front of me, I didn't hesitate, and immediately summoned the ancient heavenly scale halberd directly. This halberd was comparable to a mid to high grade spiritual treasure. Everyone be careful. Looking at the ancient heavenly scale halberd that suddenly appeared in my hand, the gaze of a stunningly beautiful young woman among the 8 elders of the immortal sect focused. As the stunningly beautiful young woman's words fell, the respective weapons appeared in the hands of the 8 elders of the immortal sect. These were all mid to high grade spiritual treasures, which were already ranked as rare and peerless treasures in the lower realm. Heavenly scale halberd art. Facing the siege of the 8 elders of the immortal sect, my expression didn't change in the slightest. With a shake of the ancient heavenly scale halberd in my hand, a dark golden light took shape at the halberd's tip. And then as it clashed with the weapons of the 8 elders of the immortal sect, sparks shot out explosively. And an astonishing shockwave also violently surged out from the point of contact. What profound spiritual energy! Is he really only at the peak of the 3rd stage of the 4 extremities realm? I refuse to believe that the 8 of us elders joining hands still can't capture him. The 9 people's weapons clashed in a stalemate, and space began to shatter on a massive scale at the entrance of the immortal sect's main hall. Seeing the stalemate persist, I immediately swung the ancient heavenly scale halberd in my hand. Powerful arm strength directly forced the 8 elders of the immortal sect back. Afterwards I raised my hand and once again executed the great desolation imprisoning heavenly finger. An index finger fully 100 zhang thick broke through the heavy dark clouds, descending from the void. The surviving disciples of the ethereal immortal sect, and the 8 elders of the immortal sect, looked up at that index finger covering the sky and sun, feeling their scalps go numb one after another. This kind of martial art could already be considered top tier in the lower realm. And even if placed in the upper realm, it was exceptionally good. All disciples heed my command. Form the immortal cloud annihilation array. After freezing in place for a moment, a long-bearded elder shouted loudly to the ethereal immortal sect disciples on the 8 peaks. This immortal cloud annihilation array was the signature array of their ethereal immortal sect in the lower realm. While able to resist attacks, it could also combine the power of everyone in the array to launch an attack. As long as this array was brought out, even a peak 4th stage dragon transformation realm expert would perish with regrets within it. Hearing the voice of the 8 elders of the immortal sect echoing throughout the entire ethereal immortal sect, countless ethereal immortal sect disciples responded in unison. A moment later, wisps of white energy seeped out from above the heads of those disciples, and an endless stream of white mist almost obscured the entire sky, perfectly jamming my great desolation imprisoning heavenly finger in midair. Everyone, I will command the array. If we don't slay this brat today, our ethereal immortal sect will have no face left in the lower realm. Seeing the grand array rapidly taking shape, that long-bearded elder frowned and said this to the crowd. Then with a flash of his body appeared within the sea of clouds in the void. Hearing these words, all of the 8 elders of the immortal sect simultaneously formed seals with their hands. And following the movement of their hand seals, a moment later, it actually condensed in front of that long-bearded elder into a massive blue-white energy sphere. Seeing this, a ruthless look flashed in the eyes of this long-bearded elder. With a fierce wave of his sleeve robe, that energy sphere condensing the power of all the ethereal immortal sect disciples, shot violently towards me, while the great desolation imprisoning heavenly finger stuck in midair was directly crushed by the power emitted by the grand array. Truly as annoying as flies. Looking at the blue-white energy sphere flying towards me, I started to become impatient. These people were stalling too much time. If I waited until Qin Tianming completely integrated and adapted to the supreme bone, then my desire to slay Qin Tianming today would likely face some difficulties. The next second my scarlet eyes suddenly widened, and my whole body's spiritual energy completely erupted at this moment. Green Heaven Dragon Transformation Art. Immovable Azure Dragon Bell. Following my shout, in an instant azure light burst forth brightly from my entire body. Soon azure dragon scales appeared on the surface of my body. Once the scales covered my entire body, the azure light around me transformed into an azure dragon bell hundreds of zhang tall. The blue-white energy sphere blasted onto the azure dragon bell, erupting with a muffled boom. Everyone's vision went white, and disciples with low cultivation bases were directly turned into nothingness under the fluctuations of this collision. This Lin Yi is no trash at all. To actually be able to single-handedly force the 8 elders of the ethereal immortal sect to combine the entire sect's power to resist. Meanwhile on the other side, a middle-aged man dressed in Taoist robes stood with one hand behind his back, stepping on a yin-yang disc and watching the battle at the ethereal immortal sect with unblinking eyes. Although I also don't know how Lin Yi has such cultivation. But being able to fight against so many people is already his full strength. Once Qin Tianming makes his move, Lin Yi will likely be doomed. Father, when the time comes, please step forward to save him. Zhuge Linglong, standing beside the middle-aged Taoist robed man, frowned and spoke. This middle-aged man in Taoist robes was none other than Zhuge Linglong's father, the head of the Zhuge family in the lower realm. His cultivation was at the peak of the 4th stage of the Dragon Transformation Realm. If Qin Tianming was still at the peak of the 4th stage of the Dragon Transformation Realm, I might be able to make him give me face. But today is different from the past. Qin Tianming has already broken through to the Sendai realm. That guy Qin Tianming probably won't give your father this face. Listening to his daughter's words, Zhuge Chen was also put in a difficult spot for a moment. Then what should we do? I can't just watch Lin Yi die here at the ethereal immortal sect. Worry appeared on Zhuge Linglong's face. Wait while your father does a divination for Lin Yi. Zhuge Chen didn't waste any more words, his fingers tapping rapidly in front of him, as he closed his eyes and began to calculate. Brother Zhuge, you've also come here to watch the spectacle. An unknown amount of time passed. And just as Zhuge Chen opened his eyes from the divination, a vigorous and hot-blooded voice came from behind. Turning his head to look, Zhuge Chen saw that an unknown when a dense crowd of people had arrived behind him. Zhuge Chen knew that basically every prominent sect in the lower realm had come. And on the other side, I once again withstood a full-force strike from the ethereal immortal sect's grand array. And immediately wielding the ancient heavenly scale halberd, I slaughtered wantonly within the ethereal immortal sect. I raised my hand to block an attack from one of the 8 elders of the immortal sect, and directly chopped off one of his arms alive. Looking at the fallen arm before my eyes, my ears filled with the miserable screams of that immortal sect elder, I directly smashed the ancient heavenly scale halberd forcefully onto the ground, supporting the bone halberd with one hand. My aura was already somewhat disordered. Fighting for so long, my spiritual energy had already been consumed excessively. The scales brought by the Green Heaven Dragon transformation art had also long faded due to insufficient spiritual energy, leaving only that azure green skin behind. Everyone push a bit harder. Keep holding on. This brat has reached his limit. Seeing this, one of the 8 elders controlling the grand array called out loudly to the disciples of the ethereal immortal sect. Hearing the words of these people beside my ears, I forcefully endured the soreness in my body, and straightened my back once again. I had killed an unknown number of these disciples, and even heavily injured one of the 8 elders of the immortal sect. Now breaking the array would be simpler than before. Let's use that move. I slowly closed my eyes. Facing the blue-white energy sphere attacking again, I remained unmoved. And no particularly powerful fluctuations surged around my body either. This appearance caused quite a few people to frown. This strike is not simple at all. Even a powerhouse at the peak of the 4th stage of the Dragon Transformation Realm, if they lack tyrannical methods, would likely find it very difficult to block. I ignored the whispers of the crowd. Just as they were speaking, a gray line actually appeared between my eyebrows. As time passed, that gray line expanded and contracted unsteadily, as if something was about to be born from within that gray line. It's going to be decided in one move. Lin Yi probably won't even be able to get past the step of the 8 elders of the immortal sect, let alone facing Qin Tianming later. However, even if Lin Yi is defeated today, it is still a glorious defeat. In the distance, Zhuge Chen couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Truly a youthful hero. If this person does not die today, the entire lower realm will be filled with his legends. A middle-aged man in green clothes chuckled while stroking his beard. Father. Zhuge Linglong, watching this scene, hurriedly flew to Zhuge Chen's side, reaching out to pull Zhuge Chen's sleeve. Seeing this, the corners of Zhuge Chen's mouth twitched. He doted on this daughter the most. Usually his daughter never asked him for anything. Yet today, for this Lin Yi's sake, she was actually willing to beg him. He figured his daughter had already secretly given her heart away. Sighing slightly, Zhuge Chen raised his hand and summoned the yin-yang disc from under his feet to his front. Seeing this scene, the numerous sect masters and elders of the lower realm couldn't help but be taken aback. Brother Zhuge, are you planning to intervene and save this young man? A black-robed elder stepped forward to ask Zhuge Chen. My daughter rarely pleads with me, so I cannot let my girl down. Zhuge Chen smiled helplessly. The yin-yang disc in front of him spun rapidly, and the dual energies of yin and yang directly enveloped this space. Everyone felt Zhuge Chen's formidable strength simultaneously at this moment. However, just as Zhuge Chen was about to launch his attack, he suddenly stopped. Just as everyone was confused, Zhuge Chen pointed out the reason, only to see the gray line between my eyebrows wiggling rapidly at this moment. Faintly a wave of sinister evil aura spread out, and the place it was spreading towards was actually my eyes. Just as that sinister evil aura was about to invade my eyes, a gentle white light suddenly emerged in my eyes, which actually directly absorbed that sinister evil aura away. At this moment, deep between my eyebrows, an ancient stone symbol was quietly floating, and the faint white light was exactly radiating from it. And beneath that ancient stone symbol was a pervasive bizarre gray mist. In the center of the gray mist a demonic gray eyeball floated quietly. The eyeball was covered in bizarre bloodshot veins, and an ancient ferocity filled it. However, whenever this ferocity was about to spew forth, the ancient stone symbol above would ripple out a ring of white light, suppressing it so it couldn't move the slightest bit. It was exactly at this moment that a thought suddenly radiated here. And then the stone symbol suppressing the gray eyeball slightly restrained itself. The moment the stone symbol's suppression relaxed, the ferocity within that gray eyeball thoroughly erupted. At the same time, countless blue-white spiral spheres flew in front of me. And the instant I opened my eyes, the gray line between my eyebrows split open bizarrely, and then transformed into a gray triangular eyeball. The moment the gray eye appeared, the space around me almost abruptly distorted, and a terrifying energy fluctuation spread out. Desolate demonic eye. The instant this desolate demonic eye manifested, my cultivation also rapidly climbed to the first stage of the dragon transformation realm. At the same time, a gray light beam shot violently from my gray eye, and then collided with the countless blue-white spiral spheres. Immediately after, the gray light beam actually directly pierced through the blue-white energy spheres. After breaking through these attacks, I utilized that gray ray to blast and kill countless ethereal immortal sect disciples. Then with a flash I vanished directly from the spot. When I reappeared, I had already reached in front of the array controller. The ancient heavenly scale halberd in my hand did not hesitate at all, directly slicing off this person's head. The grand array shattered. Countless ethereal immortal sect disciples died in battle. The 8 elders of the immortal sect also suffered severe injuries from the backlash. At this moment, facing me, they no longer had any ability to counterattack. Bizarre footsteps roamed everywhere, while the 8 elders of the immortal sect were in shock. I had already claimed the heads of 7 of the 8 elders. Immediately, I walked towards the final elder, raising the ancient heavenly scale halberd high with one hand. I smashed it fiercely towards the last of the 8 elders. This final elder was exactly that stunningly beautiful woman. To actually ruin my immortal sect into such a state. Just as the ancient heavenly scale halberd was about to smash onto the stunningly beautiful woman's head, a voice echoed from the main hall. And immediately an extremely powerful coercion erupted from within the main hall. And just the ripples it emitted actually sent me flying backwards. Subsequently, a heaven-piercing beam of light erupted from the immortal hall, and the heavy dark clouds that had condensed once again above the void were pierced through once again at this moment. Sister. I felt my own sister's aura within this energy. I looked with bloodshot eyes at the man within the pillar of light. The man was dressed in white, and a myriad of Tao laws seemed to be contained within his eyes. Sect Master, save me. Looking at the man inside the pillar of light in the void, the stunningly beautiful young woman cried out loudly for help. The newcomer was none other than the current sect master of the ethereal immortal sect in the lower realm, Qin Tianming. The 8 elders of the immortal sect were actually reduced to this state by someone at the first stage of the dragon transformation realm. I really don't know what use the ethereal immortal sect has for you. The white-robed Qin Tianming's eyes flashed, and with a single thought he directly crushed the stunningly beautiful young woman into nothingness. Everyone present was endlessly shocked. They hadn't expected that Qin Tianming wouldn't attack me first, but instead first killed the last of the 8 elders of the ethereal immortal sect. The ethereal immortal sect does not need trash. The present me can casually cultivate existences even stronger than you. Qin Tianming muttered this sentence from his mouth, and in the next second his figure appeared in front of me. He stood with his hands behind his back, pacing slowly in front of me. Your aura is truly familiar. It seems to be the same as my eldest disciple Lin Yue. She seemed to have had an older brother. Speaking to this point, Qin Tianming paused his tone, and then continued speaking. You wouldn't happen to be her older brother, would you? Looking at the white-robed Qin Tianming before me, The hand gripping my ancient heavenly scale halberd was already cracking. My originally dried-up spiritual energy once again became vigorous at this moment. I swung the ancient heavenly scale halberd and threw out a slash. The golden yellow power drawing out ripples in the void. Then executing the Tai Qing heaven roaming steps, I charged straight towards Qin Tianming's vital spots. Looking at this halberd strike that could casually tear through space. Qin Tianming merely glanced at it indifferently. He didn't even raise a hand. Simply relying on his spiritual energy defense to block the attack on the outside. The aftershocks produced by the collision of the spiritual energy defense and the ancient heavenly scale halberd shook the surroundings. Even the crowd watching the battle from extremely far away were shaken into repeatedly retreating. This halberd is quite a decent weapon, and can be considered a ranked existence within the lower realm. Qin Tianming smiled, and then his entire body's spiritual energy trembled. For a time a radius of 100 miles was actually directly turned into nothingness. In this tremor I was directly sent flying backwards for 1,000 miles. And in the instant I was flying backwards. Qin Tianming's figure appeared in front of me. Then I only saw the corners of Qin Tianming's mouth rise slightly. As he slowly spat out a few words. Heavenly void cloud extinguishing palm. Countless spatial rifts directly tore open. And a massive palm resembling clouds and mist flew out from Qin Tianming's palm. Seeing this, I hurriedly placed the ancient heavenly scale halberd in front of me. And immediately channeled my full strength to execute the green heaven dragon transformation art. Azure skin once again manifested on the surface of my body. After a burst of dragon roars. 100 zhang tall azure dragon bell protected me within. The cloud-like massive palm collided with my immovable azure dragon bell. In just an instant my immovable azure dragon bell shattered apart. This left me somewhat in disbelief. Before I had time to execute other martial arts. That cloud massive palm pressed straight onto my body. With only a crack. The ancient heavenly scale halberd blocking in front of me, shattered apart, and turned into nothingness. Subsequently I plummeted rapidly from high in the sky into deep mountains 100,000 miles away from the ethereal immortal sect. You're not dead yet? Qin Tianming flashed and appeared in front of me. You really are very similar to Lin Yue. When she was having her bone dug out. She was just as hard to kill as you. Hearing these words my bloodshot eyes bulged. In the next second a pitch-black stone symbol appeared in front of me. The instant this black stone symbol appeared, the heaven and earth spiritual energy actually directly transformed into giant spiritual energy pythons resembling mist sweeping over. The spiritual energy in my body, that had been mostly consumed quickly, became full once again. In merely an instant, I utilized the devouring ancestral symbol to devour a massive amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy. And my cultivation also advanced from the first stage of the dragon transformation realm to the peak of the third stage. Seeing this scene, a strange look also bloomed within the eyes of Qin Tianming not far away. This black stone gave Qin Tianming a feeling of mystery. If he could get his hands on such a heaven-reaching treasure, his own strength would inevitably rise to another level. Thinking of this greed flashed in Qin Tianming's eyes. He also didn't hesitate, frantically forming hand seals in front of him. Very soon the sky's color changed drastically. And the entire sky seemed as if it had split down the middle. You two siblings are truly bringing me great gifts. First the Supreme Bone helped me step into the Sendai realm. And now you bring me such a wondrous treasure. The spiritual energy of Qin Tianming's entire body gathered towards the void. And finally in the void it actually formed. 1,000 zhang tall illusory Qin Tianming. Qin Tianming, today I will absolutely kill you. To avenge my sister's deep-seated hatred. Having recovered to my peak state using the devouring ancestral symbol, I stood bare-chested. And yelled angrily with blood-red eyes at the 1,000 zhang illusory shadow of Qin Tianming. If you have the ability then come and try. Hearing Qin Tianming's words, I waved my hand and once again summoned the ancient heavenly scale halberd into my hand. Under my repair the broken ancient heavenly scale halberd rapidly merged back into one. Once again erupting with dazzling golden light. I executed the Tai Qing heaven roaming steps. And with a flash of my figure stood above the void. Qin Tianming and I faced each other from far away. In an instant this heaven and earth was filled with a chilling aura. Who do you say will win? Among the crowd watching the battle on the other side. Someone spoke up and asked such a question. I keep feeling that today this brat seems able to rely on his lower cultivation. To inversely slay this half-step almighty Qin Tianming. The various sect leaders of the lower realm were continuously discussing. Don't lose. Zhuge Linglong narrowed her eyes. Her eyes full of worry. At this time holding the ancient heavenly scale halberd, I slashed out fiercely. Subsequently a massive unrivaled slash towards Qin Tianming's spiritual energy illusory shadow, accompanied by a massive noise. This slash of mine actually have Qin Tianming's spiritual energy illusory shadow. Your strength is very strong, kid. If I had your level of cultivation, I wouldn't be able to take a single exchange from a half-step almighty. As he spoke, Qin Tianming kicked me away with one foot. I flew directly backwards, while simultaneously, a gray beam of light erupted from my forehead. The gray beam of light filled with a desolate aura, shot explosively onto Qin Tianming's chest. Even Qin Tianming, who had already stepped into the half-step almighty stage, felt pangs of pain in his chest. However, just as that gray beam of light was about to pierce through Qin Tianming, a dark yellow bone rapidly flew out from Qin Tianming's chest. The supreme bone. Looking at that piece of bone, the hatred in my eyes for Qin Tianming grew even deeper. I immediately dissipated the force, tapped one foot in the void, and shot madly towards Qin Tianming. I really must thank your sister properly. If it wasn't for her supreme bone, I'm afraid I would have been heavily injured by that strike just now. Qin Tianming stood above the void with a mocking expression. The supreme bone formed an extremely formidable defense in front of him. Being able to die under your sister's supreme bone can be considered a fitting death for you, right? While speaking, Qin Tianming raised his hand and began forming seals. The supreme bone began to show unusual movements at this moment. These unusual movements were nothing else but Qin Tianming about to execute the innate abilities of the supreme bone. Supreme art. Reincarnation secret technique. Accompanied by Qin Tianming's soft shout ringing out. Those runes dense as rain flew rapidly towards me. Facing these incoming runes, I didn't hesitate at all. Relying on the Tai Ching heaven roaming steps, I dodged the first wave of attacks, and immediately raised my hand to use the ancient heavenly scale halberd to block. But these runes actually spread directly all over the ancient heavenly scale halberd. In merely an instant, the ancient heavenly scale halberd turned into flying ash and dissipated. This is the law of time. The power that can manipulate the passage of years. Facing such an attack and move, I knew I could no longer fight Qin Tianming head-on. If I was struck by those bizarre runes, I was afraid my own body would rapidly decay. Don't run. Aren't you here looking for your sister? Right now your sister's supreme bone is right here. Why are you dodging? Qin Tianming, standing high in the void, chuckled, and then raised his hand to direct the runes to continue attacking me. The speed of the runes got faster and faster, and my execution of the Tai Ching heaven roaming steps also became more and more frequent. I couldn't keep running like this anymore. I looked back at Qin Tianming in the void and stopped fleeing. Immediately, those runes carrying the law of time enveloped my body. My physical body quickly began to decay. Have you accepted your fate and stopped running? Looking at the incomparably aged me at this moment, astonishment flashed in Qin Tianming's eyes. He didn't believe the other party was the type of person who would suddenly give up. Just as Qin Tianming expected. Just as his thought arose, my figure dissipated from its spot. When I reappeared, I was already behind Qin Tianming. At the same time, 3 ancestral symbols surfaced around me, spinning non-stop. Qin Tianming was very familiar with one of these ancestral symbols. That was the treasure he had been yearning for earlier. But as for the other 2, Qin Tianming didn't know the power within them. He only sensed within these 2 ancestral symbols spatial fluctuations as well as the terrifying power of life and death. Devouring ancestral symbol. Chains of devouring. As my voice fell, a spinning black hole suddenly appeared in the sky. Black chains swept out, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. Their speed was very fast, appearing above Qin Tianming's head almost instantly, and then viciously stabbing towards him. Facing those black chains condensed from the power of devouring, Qin Tianming was just about to use the power of the supreme bone to defend. But the instant the power of the supreme bone came into contact with the power of devouring, its power frantically dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye. Seeing that the attack could not be resisted, Qin Tianming didn't even think turning around and fleeing far away. Qin Tianming, don't run. Seeing this, I shouted loudly. It was just that my voice at this moment was already somewhat aged and muffled, and cracks even appeared on my body due to a lack of life force. I hurriedly sacrificed the ancestral symbol beside me. With the sacrifice of this ancestral symbol, the shattering cracks on my body temporarily stopped. This was the ability of the life and death ancestral symbol. However, the life and death ancestral symbol was not omnipotent. If I wanted to fully recover, I could only seize the supreme bone into my hands, and then use the law of time within it to repair myself. At this moment, by overdrawing my life, my strength also barely reached the Sendai realm. As long as our cultivation levels were roughly close, slaying Qin Tianming would be as easy as flipping my hand. Devouring swirl prison. I raised my dried and aged arm, and then saw those chains of devouring whistling past Qin Tianming suddenly twist, and as black light scattered, they actually transformed directly into a spinning black hole vortex. With Qin Tianming located in the center of the black hole, his entire body was instantly immobilized by those devouring powers coming from all directions. Damn it! This bizarre scene caused Qin Tianming's expression to change drastically. However, no matter how he channeled his spiritual energy, his body still remained completely motionless. Seeing this scene, Qin Tianming had no choice but to once again use his intent to sacrifice the supreme bone. The supreme bone floated above Qin Tianming's head. At this moment, Qin Tianming could no longer worry about the devouring ancestral symbol, absorbing the spiritual energy from within the supreme bone, increasing his mental strength and spiritual energy. He directly caused the runes within the supreme bone to emerge once again. Those ancient runes appeared in the void, continuously spinning around Qin Tianming's body, and finally forcibly engraving themselves into this black vortex. As the black vortex was engraved by the runes filled with the law of time, it instantly began to dissipate slightly. Seeing this, I immediately sacrificed the space ancestral symbol beside me, forcibly sealing the space all around Qin Tianming. Now it was impossible for Qin Tianming to escape from this spatial seal in a short time. Looking at the trapped Qin Tianming, the killing intent in my eyes surged violently. Raising my dried and aged arm slowly, I then clenched my fist. A stone filled with the power of lightning suddenly appeared in my hand. This was the lightning ancestral symbol. I raised my hand and sent the lightning ancestral symbol into the void. In the next second, the originally quiet cloud layers suddenly thickened, and then rolled visibly to the naked eye, turning into pitch-black dark clouds. The terrifying power of lightning and thunder spread out. It's over. As the cracks on my body grew more and more numerous, I could feel that I had to kill Qin Tianming immediately. Otherwise, even the life and death ancestral symbol wouldn't be able to hold on anymore. Even if you kill me today, what does it matter? Your sister's death is already a fact. Can you actually bring her back to life? Sensing the astonishing fluctuations of heaven and earth, Qin Tianming knew he couldn't escape today. So he simply satisfied his mouth by continuously mocking. Hearing Qin Tianming's words, I only felt as if needles were piercing my heart. Breathing heavily, the cracks on my body deepened a bit more. Seeing this, I didn't say anything more. The lightning glow in my right eye suddenly intensified. Judgment of lightning. As my voice fell, the lightning in the thunderclouds frantically condensed into a giant lightning spear, and then shot violently and straight towards Qin Tianming. At this moment, Qin Tianming watched with a horrified expression, as the lightning spear rapidly magnified in his pupils. He felt the thick stench of death. You can't kill me. If you kill me, you will bear a mark. The ethereal immortal sect of the upper realm will not let you go. When truly facing death, Qin Tianming ultimately broke down. When that time comes, I'll just slaughter them all together. From the moment you killed my sister and stole her bone, I never planned to spare the entire ethereal immortal sect. As that massive lightning spear completely covered Qin Tianming's pupils, it killed him in just the span of a breath. Under the bombardment of the lightning ancestral symbol, even his soul was not left behind. And right after Qin Tianming died, a piece of bone floated in the void. That was my sister's supreme bone. Looking at that bone, I raised my hand and beckoned it to my palm. As the supreme bone fell into my hand, I utilized the law of time. The dried-up muscles gradually filled out, and the split cracks on my body rapidly closed up. Looking at the supreme bone that was much larger than my own palm, I could no longer control the tears in my eyes. Amidst the pain, I suddenly thought of something. My fingers clenched tightly around the supreme bone in my hand. There was no way in the lower realm, but the upper realm definitely had a way to resurrect my sister. Thinking of this, I raised my hand and stored my sister's supreme bone into a spatial storage. And then my gaze turned towards the wreckage of the ethereal immortal sect that had already floated tens of thousands of miles away. My sister's corpse had not yet been retrieved. Just as I was planning to use the space ancestral symbol to teleport there, I suddenly felt a pair of eyes staring at me. Moreover, I was very clear about this gaze. It was even more terrifying than Qin Tianming and myself combined just now. An invisible coercion permeated between heaven and earth. Who is it? I shouted loudly at the air. A peak third stage of the dragon transformation realm, inversely slaying a Sendai half-step almighty. For someone of the lower realm to actually emerge as such a heaven-defying genius is truly rare. Just as my voice fell, a voice suddenly echoed. Hearing the voice by my ear, I began to search continuously around me. But I just couldn't see a silhouette. No need to look for me. This king is situated in the upper realm. I am only using an avatar to converse with you this time. With your mere cultivation at the peak of the third stage of the dragon transformation realm, wanting to find me is absolutely impossible. I am not trash like Qin Tianming. The person's voice carried a hint of hostility. Hearing this person mention Qin Tianming, the killing intent in my eyes intensified. So I asked towards the air. What is your relationship with Qin Tianming? Could it be you are someone from the ethereal immortal sect of the upper realm? That is correct, this king is exactly from the ethereal immortal sect of the upper realm. That unseen figure didn't say much else. And immediately admitted his identity. Kid! You killed Qin Tianming. And destroyed the roots of my ethereal immortal sect in the lower realm. My ethereal immortal sect will not let you go. The instant Qin Tianming died. The unique mark belonging to our ethereal immortal sect already marked you. In the future, as long as they are disciples of the ethereal immortal sect, they will hunt you down endlessly. Until your complete death. Enjoy your final days properly. As the final sentence fell, I sensed that peering gaze weakening. It should be that person preparing to leave. However, how could I let him leave so easily? The instant the other party's aura became the faintest, I once again activated the lightning ancestral symbol above the void that had not yet been retracted. In a split second, a deafening sound rang out, and a silver-white lightning dragon rapidly manifested. Then, with the assistance of the space ancestral symbol, it directly blasted away in the direction I locked onto. The space ancestral symbol successfully opened a space high in the sky, and the lightning dragon drilled into the space and disappeared from sight. It was exactly at the instant the lightning dragon disappeared. A thunderous scream rang in my ears. After the scream, that person's figure quickly manifested. That person flickered in the void, the lightning glow on his body quickly dissipating. And immediately his figure began to turn illusory. No matter how an avatar splits, it is still a product created by combining spiritual energy and the soul. As long as the soul is involved, lightning is the most effective means. I looked at the illusory figure in the void with a flash of killing intent in my eyes. A lightning dragon formed once again and flew towards that illusory shadow. Anything related to the ethereal immortal sect must die. Just wait, I will slaughter my way to the upper realm. I will slaughter you all. Astonishing thunder resounded through the 9 heavens. Amidst the vast expanse of white space began to collapse. That illusory shadow did not even let out a sound, before being annihilated between heaven and earth. Meanwhile, in the center of a palace in the upper realm's ethereal immortal sect, a young man suddenly opened his eyes, followed by spitting out a mouthful of blood. A vicious look flashed across the young man's eyes. Good boy, I'll remember you. Don't let this king run into you in the upper realm. On the other side, after I slaughtered the avatar of this person from the upper realm, I retrieved the lightning ancestral symbol from the void. Then, utilizing the power of the space ancestral symbol, I arrived in the ruined main hall of the ethereal immortal sect. After sensing the aura of my sister Lin Yue, I took heavy steps and slowly walked towards that side hall. Looking at the entrance of the side hall layered with sealing taboos, I raised my hand and erased them. Immediately after I stepped inside, every scene inside the side hall was taken into my eyes. I looked at the surroundings, and finally locked my gaze on the woman, floating right in the center of the side hall. The woman had her eyes tightly closed, and at her chest there was a bloody hole. I quickly stepped forward, and hugged the floating Lin Yue down from the center of the side hall in one fell swoop. Looking at my sister's face close at hand, for a moment my heart ached so much that I couldn't breathe at all. I'm sorry, sister. I came late. Meanwhile, the sect masters of the various major sects in the lower realm all fell silent. The ethereal immortal sect of the lower realm had been destroyed. The half-step almighty, who had just stepped into the Sendai realm, Qin Tianming, died just like this at the hands of a nameless boy. And that boy was merely at the peak of the third stage of the dragon transformation secret realm. This boy actually did it. Zhuge Chun muttered softly with his hands behind his back. At this time Zhuge Linglong's constantly hanging heart finally settled down. However, doubts also arose in her heart. She didn't understand why I would possess such combat power. Stop looking, the matter is over. Return with me. Zhuge Chen caught sight of Zhuge Linglong pondering something from the corner of his eye. So he spoke out to wake her up. And turned to leave in the opposite direction. Hearing this, Zhuge Linglong could only nod. And followed her father Zhuge Chen preparing to leave. And at this moment, high in the sky. Master, this boy is truly interesting. To actually be able to rely on such low cultivation to slay Qin Tianming. Even I would find it strenuous to kill Qin Tianming with the supreme bone. A young girl dressed in a black dress smiled. Towards the woman beside her, who was a head taller. Both women were dressed in black clothes and black skirts. Even though the two were just standing there. The space in the void seemed to have come to a standstill. From this it could be seen that both of their strengths were terrifyingly powerful. The woman called Master by the black-dressed young girl opened her mouth and said, "If this child does not die prematurely, his achievements will definitely not be low. His starting point should be able to reach the Saint Realm. However, it's a pity that the one he offended is the ethereal immortal sect," the woman said to the black-dressed young girl. The ethereal immortal sect's power in the upper realm is also extremely terrifying. Although they can't compare to our dark demon valley. Wanting to pinch a lower realm boy, who hasn't grown up yet to death, is simply as easy as flipping their hands. I hope that in the future in the upper realm, we can still hear this boy's legends. A smile appeared on the woman's cold and clear face. And immediately her body vanished from the spot. Seeing the woman leave, the black-dressed young girl looked around, and wasn't in a hurry to leave, but stealthily departed towards the distance. I stayed in the side hall of the ethereal immortal sect for 7 days and 7 nights. It wasn't until the 8th day that I walked outside holding my sister's corpse. I walked for a long time holding my sister. Walking out of this ethereal immortal sect. And walking to a town. Along the way I ignored the gazes of many mortals. And just kept walking like this. Until I reached the place where we lived in our childhood. And only then did I stop my steps. Afterwards I chose a cave in the back mountain. And placed my sister's corpse on the stone bed inside the cave. This was the place where we often played when we were young. Yu Wei, just rest here quietly. I will avenge you. Anyone related to the ethereal immortal sect, I will eradicate them all. While speaking I reached out and gently stroked Lin Yuwei's cheek. When my gaze swept over Lin Yuwei's body, I found that Lin Yuwei's palm was tightly clutching something. Just what kind of thing could make my sister protected even in death? With red rims around my eyes I reached out and opened Lin Yuwei's palm. After seeing the thing in her palm, the sense of guilt in my heart deepened. That was actually a top-grade fortune cleansing pill. This was what Lin Yuwei got from Qin Tianming, in order to improve my aptitude. And it was precisely because of this pill that Lin Yuwei fell for Qin Tianming's trick, and was thus plotted against to death. I silently put this pill into my own spatial storage. Immediately, I took out my sister's supreme bone from the space, and then securely placed it into my sister's body. After the supreme bone came into contact with Lin Yuwei's corpse, the life and death ancestral symbol flew out from my chest. Under my manipulation, the rich dual powers of life and death very quickly integrated the supreme bone back into Lin Yuwei's body. Having the supreme bone in her body could ensure that Lin Yuwei's physical body would never decay. After finishing all this, another ancestral symbol flew out from my body. With the appearance of this ancestral symbol, the temperature inside the cave suddenly plummeted. A terrifying chill instantly swept through the entire cave. I controlled these cold energies to condense into an ice coffin, and immediately placed my sister's corpse inside it. Finally I raised my hand and sealed the mouth of this cave with ice, and left a formation across the entire airspace above. This was a formation I formed by executing all of the ancestral symbols. In the lower realm no one would be able to approach it. After finishing all this I turned around and was about to leave this place. But right at this moment a voice suddenly rang out. This formation is truly high level. Even if an ordinary Sendai half-step almighty came, I'm afraid they absolutely wouldn't be able to do anything about it, right? Hearing this I looked towards the direction the voice came from, and saw a stunningly beautiful young girl in a black skirt standing right there. The feeling this young girl gave me was not the slightest bit inferior to that Qin Tianming. Who are you? Looking at the young girl in front of me, my whole body's spiritual energy erupted. Not knowing the background of the young girl before me, I had to be on guard at all times. If necessary, I wouldn't mind slaying another Sendai half-step almighty. Seeing this, the young girl hurriedly raised her hands and said, My name is Chen Luoi. I don't have any hostility. Don't fight with me. I can't beat you anyway. Although you bear no malice. But you should have also seen things you shouldn't have seen. I cannot let you live. Golden light flashed in my palm. And the ancient heavenly scale halberd that had been annihilated in the law of time appeared in my hands once again. This was what I reverted back, using the law of time, within my sister's supreme bone. Seeing this scenario, panic flashed across Chen Luoi's face. While circulating spiritual energy to block, she said, "Since you don't want to know how to resurrect your sister, then I'll leave." As she spoke, pitch-black spiritual energy overflowed from around Chen Luoi's body. And immediately, she struck a palm to break the space, temporarily forcing me back. Taking this palm head-on, I immediately retreated backwards. Hearing what Chen Luoi just said, I hurriedly shouted, "What method do you have to resurrect my sister? In this world, I firmly believe there was definitely a way to save my sister. Although I could also unlock this kind of ability through the templates I would open in the future. But being able to resurrect my sister as quickly as possible, I naturally didn't want to delay. The 6 paths of reincarnation fruit. The karma-severing sword. The 9-colored divine mud. The soul-summoning token, and the yin-yang life and death pill. As long as you can gather all the above items, and finally reach the Sendai realm's 6th heaven great saint cultivation level, you will be 100% able to resurrect your sister." Listening to Chen Luoi's words, my brows furrowed deeper and deeper. I hadn't even heard of any of these things myself. Come to think of it, they shouldn't be items from the lower realm. "Do you know where these things are?" I had no choice but to refocus my gaze on the young girl in front of me. Originally, I thought since the other party told me this information, she would definitely have demands. I never expected Chen Luoi to actually tell me everything she knew without hesitation. The 6 paths of reincarnation fruit grows on the 6 paths of reincarnation tree. And this 6 paths of reincarnation tree grows within the soul-severing abyss. It is not so easily obtainable. Only when you reach the great saint cultivation level will you have the capital to compete for it. The 9-colored divine mud is in the hands of the Heaven Mending sect. It is the sect guarding treasure of the Heaven Mending sect. However, because of the decline of the Heaven Mending sect, this thing was snatched away by a mysterious powerhouse as early as 3,000 years ago. This mysterious powerhouse stored the 9-colored divine mud in a secret realm. This secret realm opens once every 500 years. Calculating the time, it should open around this period. As for the soul summoning token, it is in the soul devouring hall. And the yin-yang life and death pill can only be perfectly forged by an alchemist of the 7th grade or above. After Chen Luoi finished saying everything she knew, I frowned and asked, "What about the karma-severing sword?" Chen Luoi blinked her eyes and said, "That thing is in the hands of your old enemy, the upper realm's ethereal immortal sect. Right now, if there are no errors in the information, it should be enshrined in the ancestral hall of the ethereal immortal sect." Hearing the words ethereal immortal sect, killing intent surfaced in my eyes. "Why do you want to help me?" I asked, the doubt in my heart. "There's no particular reason. I just found you quite interesting. I was so bored staying in the valley to death. So I might as well find something to do." After Chen Luoi finished speaking, seeing my face full of disbelief, she was just about to voice some explanation when I raised my hand and interrupted her. "I don't have time to listen to your excessive explanations. I will go verify whether these things are true or false myself. If you don't want to die, then during this period while I'm verifying, just follow by my side. If I find the slightest thing amiss, then I will kill you on the spot." After speaking, a golden light flashed in my palm. And immediately, the ancient heavenly scale halberd disappeared from my hand. Looking at my back, Chen Luoi stood stunned in place. She shattered the words she wanted to use for an explanation, and swallowed them back down. She had just been thinking about how to use the most reasonable excuse to stay by my side. Chen Luoi would never have thought, even if beaten to death, that this matter would actually be so simple. "When can we head to the upper realm?" I asked straightforwardly. There is only one upper realm for the upper realm. But there are countless lower realms for the lower realm. Therefore, if one wants to go to the upper realm, they need a guide. And my guide was obviously Chen Luoi in front of me. "We have our roots in the upper realm, so we can return to the upper realm immediately with just a single thought. But if I am to bring you along, we can only go to the heaven ascending gate of the lower realm." Chen Luoi pondered slightly and responded, "The heaven ascending gate is for every person in the lower realm. The necessary path they must take if they want to head to the upper realm. Not only does it require one's own strength to be extremely formidable, it also requires the recommendation of someone from the upper realm. Neither of the two can be lacking. Where is the Heaven Ascending Gate? I directly asked the location of the Heaven Ascending Gate. In the extreme Northlands. As her voice fell, Chen Luoi only felt her whole body become incomparably freezing. The scenery before her eyes changed instantly. In merely the time of one breath. I had brought Chen Luoi across a distance of tens of millions of miles. Arriving at the extreme Northlands. Is this the credit of those magical stones of yours? After Chen Luoi let out a sigh of amazement. She saw me store a stone symbol into my body. Where is the Heaven Ascending Gate? Facing Chen Luoi's inquiry. I paid it no heed. It's right inside the heavenly abyss of the extreme Northlands. Follow me. Seeing that I didn't answer. Chen Luoi also didn't continue asking. Everyone's abilities and trump cards are secrets. Chen Luoi also had her own secrets. Under Chen Luoi's lead. I quickly arrived at the heavenly abyss she spoke of. This was a chasm in the extreme Northlands. The giant chasm stretched all the way to the distant horizon, and its end could not be seen. I stood at the edge and looked down. An inexplicable suction force was constantly attracting me. This is the heavenly abyss. Within this heavenly abyss there is an internal space. That space is the boundary between this lower realm and the upper realm. As long as one can pass through that space, it is considered successfully entering the upper realm. Without further delay, let's go down. Hearing this, I didn't hesitate anymore, and flew straight down the heavenly abyss. Inside the heavenly abyss, the ground was covered by a thick layer of ice. Beneath the ice layer was bottomless darkness. Standing on the ice surface, Chen Luoi said to me, "Now you just need to walk while exerting your spiritual energy. As long as a segment of your spiritual energy overlaps with the space of this Heaven Ascending Gate, we will be able to enter inside. This is the only way to find that space. Of course, if your cultivation could reach the quasi-emperor realm, you could directly use your divine sense to find it, without it being so troublesome." Hearing Chen Luoi's words without even thinking, I directly took the space ancestral symbol out from my body, and tossed it right into the center of the heavenly abyss. Driven by spiritual energy, extreme spatial fluctuations began to rapidly spread outwards with the ancestral symbol as the center. In an instant, spaces shattered everywhere within the heavenly abyss. As time passed, minute by minute, second by second. Finally, at about the 3-hour mark, a spatial fluctuation emitted by the space ancestral symbol produced an effect with a spatial rift in the distance. As golden light burst forth, the entire heavenly abyss was lit up. Very quickly, a light pillar 100 zhang thick rose from the ground, appearing directly right before my eyes. As this light beam gradually spread out, it quickly transformed into a towering giant gate. This is the Heaven Ascending Gate. Entering here, we will be able to enter that space. Seeing the Heaven Gate appear, Chen Luoi immediately took my hand and walked towards the Heaven Ascending Gate. After walking into the Heaven Gate, I felt as if I had traversed a space-time tunnel. The surrounding scenery changed instantly. By the time I opened my eyes again, I was already situated in a magnificently resplendent great hall. And in the center of this great hall, there was a giant golden throne. On the throne actually sat a majestic old man. His gaze was profound, as if it could see through people's hearts. Who is that person? I looked at the old man on the throne, and asked Chen Luoi beside me. This old man gave me a very strange feeling. It was as if just by sitting there he could control everything. That is a wisp of a remnant soul of Great Emperor Yuanshu. This space was casually created by him. Great Emperor Yuanshu is very benevolent. He deeply knows the dangers of the upper realm. Therefore, for people of the lower realm wanting to head to the upper realm, they must be tested by this wisp of his remnant soul, to see if they are qualified to be able to go. Hearing Chen Luoi finish speaking, I looked at the old man on the throne and nodded slightly. So speaking, this Great Emperor Yuanshu is really quite nice. Immediately, I walked towards Great Emperor Yuanshu on that throne. Cultivation at the peak of the 3rd stage of the Dragon Transformation Secret Realm. But I can sense that your body contains many strange powers. Utilizing these powers, you can inversely attack the half-step Almighty Realm. A hint of approval flashed across the eyes of the remnant soul of Great Emperor Yuanshu. I don't know what your test is. I didn't waste too much breath on Great Emperor Yuanshu, and directly asked about the test to enter the upper realm. Your appearance has let this wisp of my remnant soul find the feeling of my past youth. Back then I was also as formidable as you are. Great Emperor Yuanshu slowly stood up. A monstrous spiritual pressure pressed towards me. Your test is to hold out under my hands for the time it takes an incense stick to burn. If you can succeed, not only will I send you to the upper realm, I will also give you an extra item. How about a kid? Under the monstrous spiritual pressure, all 8 ancestral symbols in my body appeared right in front of me together, forming a layer of protection. Seeing this scene, shock appeared in Chen Luoyi's eyes. One must know, although the great emperor is benevolent, he is definitely not this idle, ordinarily sending people up. The test is nothing more than a checkpoint he set up. Why is it that when it comes to Lin Yi, he has to face this great Emperor Yuanshu directly? Regarding great Emperor Yuanshu's proposal, I did not refuse. The spiritual energy across my entire body also erupted at this moment. The 2 streams of tyrannical spiritual pressure made the entire space tremble, as if it were on the verge of collapse. It's been a long time since I've seen a young man like you. You truly resemble me a bit from back in my days. Great Emperor Yuanshu's remnant soul smiled. And immediately a wisp of golden light emerged from his palm, directly transforming into a 3-foot green-edged sword. This sword is named Demon Slaying. It is the supreme imperial weapon that once followed me to slay countless chosen geniuses and extraterrestrial demons. However, this is merely something I've manifested using spiritual energy. It doesn't even amount to 1/1,000,000th of the demon-slaying sword. But it is also enough for you to catch a glimpse of its past glory. The supreme imperial weapon, the demon-slaying sword, erupted with astonishing coercion in great Emperor Yuanshu's hand. Just this alone was able to make me feel an indescribable pressure. If the true body of this supreme imperial weapon was here in its full prime, I'm afraid the entire lower realm would directly turn into nothingness under its pressure. Lin Yi, be careful. It is recorded in ancient texts that although great Emperor Yuanshu specializes in the arts of slaughter, what he is best at is forming formations casually with a wave of his hand. His various formations are extremely tricky. Chen Luoyi stood in the distance and warned me. Skilled in formations? I etched this information into my heart. Immediately, without any hesitation, my hands rapidly formed seals. The next second the entire space trembled. And then an index finger 100 zhang thick descended from the sky, pressing fiercely towards great Emperor Yuanshu. Great desolation imprisoning heavenly finger. Great Emperor Yuanshu looked up at this scene, a look of approval flashing across his face. This martial skill is truly not bad. Although its grade is a bit low. I definitely didn't have something like this when I was at your age. As he spoke, the green-edged demon-slaying sword in his hand danced accordingly. Streams of chilling murderous aura rushed straight to slash at that 100 zhang finger carrying the desolate aura. The terrifying slashes cut back and forth upon that index finger. That 100 zhang thick index finger dissipated just like that before it even fell. The space trembled. Great Emperor Yuanshu raised his hand and cast a formation to stabilize this space. After all, it has been in disrepair for years. However, from now on I have already used a formation to stabilize this space. Even a battle in the Saint Realm could not possibly destroy this space. To prevent myself from possibly losing control in a moment, kid, come change locations to fight with me. As great Emperor Yuanshu's voice fell, in the next second I only felt the space rapidly change. By the time I opened my eyes again, I was already situated within a vast and boundless space. This space seemed to have broken away from the restraints of time and space. There was only endless darkness intertwined with the stars. Faint green light flowed across my dark robes, as if echoing with this starry sky. This was the manifestation of my spiritual energy. Looking again at great Emperor Yuanshu at this moment, he was no longer in the image of an old man. He had transformed into a majestic figure dressed in a black imperial robe. Within this formation space, this wisp of my remnant soul will also be strengthened somewhat. This also makes my appearance closer to my image when I was alive. As he spoke, the demon-slaying sword in his hand thrust fiercely forward. Seeing this, I summoned out the ancient heavenly scale halberd and went up to meet it. The demon-slaying long sword drew sharp sword energies in the air, as if wanting to tear space apart. I was also unwilling to show weakness. The ancient heavenly scale halberd collided with it, instantly erupting with a deafening roar. The entire space seemed to be trembling. Although great Emperor Yuanshu was a wisp of a remnant soul, within this formation space, his strength had already been enhanced significantly, directly forcing me back. I immediately steadied my posture, a fierce look flashing in my eyes. Once again I swung the ancient heavenly scale halberd to hack at great Emperor Yuanshu. This time my aura was even sharper, as if wanting to cleave the entire space open. Good boy. This cultivation of the dragon transformation secret realm can't be felt on you at all. Being like this, you would even be capable of slaying a half-step almighty, right? During the battle just now, He intentionally suppressed his cultivation to the peak of the 4th stage of the Dragon Transformation Secret Realm. But facing my offensive, he still couldn't withstand it. Consequently, Great Emperor Yuanshu directly raised his cultivation to the half-step Almighty Realm. But even so, I still handled it with ease. Not long ago, I just slew a half-step Almighty carrying a supreme bone. I didn't hide anything and directly said it out. A half-step Almighty, who also possessed a supreme bone? Truly interesting. Hearing this, Great Emperor Yuanshu looked forward to it, even more in his heart. Afterwards, he raised his hand and cast a formation. The appearance of this formation instantly enveloped this piece of space. In merely an instant, I realized that my cultivation was actually dropping rapidly. Not long after, my cultivation actually went straight from the peak of the 3rd stage of the Dragon Transformation Secret Realm, and plummeted down to the 3rd stage of the 4 Extremities Secret Realm. This is a formation I created when I was at the Saint cultivation level. It can continuously weaken the opponent's power when facing an enemy. There's still half an incense stick's worth of time, kid. You must hold on. Great Emperor Yuanshu smiled and raised his hand to swing the demon-slaying sword again. Looking at the demon-slaying sword thrusting out once more, I knew that with my current cultivation, I couldn't resist it at all. So I directly sacrificed all of the ancestral symbols. The devouring ancestral symbol emitted a terrifying devouring power, frantically plundering power from the surrounding space. That power continuously replenished towards my body. Following that, I raised my hand and controlled the lightning ancestral symbol, shouting towards Great Emperor Yuanshu, "Judgment of Lightning." The lightning ancestral symbol erupted with white light at this moment. A blinding streak of lightning tore through space, heading straight to clash with the sword thrust out by Great Emperor Yuanshu. Terrifying energy erupted, and spatial cracks actually appeared. You actually have so many of this kind of treasure. Looking at the power erupting from the ancestral symbols, Great Emperor Yuanshu couldn't help but give some praise. They are items of the same series. Merely minor tricks. They can't compare to your demon-slaying sword. While I spoke, the movements in my hands did not pause either. The lightning ancestral symbol continued to erupt with astonishing white light as lightning wreaked havoc. Finally, the spatial formation was the first unable to hold on and shattered directly. And right at this moment, my cultivation was also climbing rapidly. When my cultivation recovered back to its initial state, because of my battle with Great Emperor Yuanshu, the template synchronization rate also increased accordingly. My cultivation actually reached the peak of the 4th stage of the Dragon Transformation Secret Realm straight away. Going further up from this cultivation would be the Sendai Half-Step Almighty. To actually elevate your cultivation in the midst of battle. Your talent, kid, is truly astonishing. Great Emperor Yuanshu felt his formation shatter, and couldn't help but open his mouth to offer some praise. I cannot compare to the Great Emperor. I looked at the time and said, "The time has passed. This trial is over." I asked the Great Emperor to please dispel this space. This remnant soul of Great Emperor Yuanshu did not refuse. In the next second, the world turned upside down, and I returned to the main hall where I had just been. And Great Emperor Yuanshu was also just like the very beginning, sitting right there on the high seat. "Kid, you are quite not bad." Great Emperor Yuanshu nodded in satisfaction. Immediately, he raised his hand, and a surge of energy was infused into my body. This is a single strike of the demon-slaying sword. It can unleash 1/1000000 th of demon-slaying's power. But remember, it can only be used 3 times. However, within these 3 uses, you can contend against saints. But you cannot slay a saint. After finishing speaking, Great Emperor Yuanshu didn't even wait for me to open my mouth. He raised his hand and sent me and Chen Luoi out of this space. And Great Emperor Yuanshu also fell into a deep slumber, waiting for the next person who wanted to reach the upper realm to appear. Not long after, at the cliff in the outside world, accompanied by a burst of deafening thunder, Chen Luoi and I appeared here. You actually obtained 3 attacks from Great Emperor Yuanshu. You really struck great luck, Chen Luoi said enviously after appearing. I didn't discuss this topic too much, turning around and asking Chen Luoi, "What is the setup of the Ethereal Immortal Sect in the Upper Realm?" The Ethereal Immortal Sect in the Upper Realm has 1,000,000 disciples. Among them, the true powerhouses are the left and right Grand Protectors. Their cultivation bases are both at the peak of the Sendai Half-Step Almighty. Aside from these 2 Grand Protectors, there are also the Peak Masters of the 3 peaks. Their cultivation bases are all at the Sendai Almighty Half-Step King Realm. Above the Lords of the 3 peaks are the 5 Kings. They are all peak powerhouses of the King Realm. and the vice sect master of the ethereal immortal sect is at the peak of the saint realm. Chen Luoyi's voice abruptly stopped at this point. What about the sect master of the ethereal immortal sect? Seeing this I frowned and asked. Chen Luoyi shook her head. It is said that the sect master of the ethereal immortal sect has already been missing for 100,000 years. No one knows where this guy went. If that sect master were around, the ethereal immortal sect wouldn't have been reduced to such a ranking, and would definitely have advanced to a higher level. Hearing Chen Luoyi's words, I nodded slightly. Although this sect master of the ethereal immortal sect had already been missing for 100,000 years. But I must keep my guard up no matter what. After all, no one can say for sure. If at the time I take my revenge, this sect master, who went missing for 100,000 years, will slaughter his way out again. What was his cultivation when this guy went missing 100,000 years ago? Bearing doubt, I asked Chen Luoyi a question. The sect master of the ethereal immortal sect is named Luo Qingxian. When he went missing 100,000 years ago, his cultivation was already at the Sendai realm's fifth heaven. The cultivation of a saint king. He was a saint king 100,000 years ago? Hearing this sentence, my heart also skipped a beat. Since this person's strength was so formidable, why would he suddenly go missing? I muttered casually. That I don't know. It is said that in the end, Luo Qingxian headed to the Endless Abyss all alone. The Endless Abyss is a forbidden zone in the upper realm. There an unknown number of chosen geniuses of past generations have met their end, turning into evil spirits entrenching the place. It is also unknown how many extraterrestrial demons have taken shape and developed inside it. Therefore, after Luo Qingxian went missing, most people passed around rumors that he also died in the Endless Abyss. I nodded and didn't continue pressing for more. I looked around not knowing where this was. I immediately opened my mouth and said to Chen Luoyi, right now my main target is the 9-colored divine mud of the Heaven Mending sect. You said that secret realm opens once every 500 years. And calculating the time, it's almost due. You take me near that secret realm first. Chen Luoyi didn't refuse. She looked around and said, this should be the territory of some minor sect in the upper realm. Our commotion just now should have also caught their attention. I figure they are rushing over here right now. We'd better hurry up and leave here. Afterwards, the two of us immediately leaped into the void and left this place. Meanwhile, at the upper realm's ethereal immortal sect, inside the immortal sect's main hall, a handsome man sitting on the secondary seat suddenly opened his eyes. That boy from the lower realm actually came to the upper realm this quickly. Since he has come, then let the left and right protectors go forth and slay him first. The lower realm's ethereal immortal sect being destroyed by him. This matter is simply an insult to the majesty of our upper realm's ethereal immortal sect. After the handsome man finished speaking, a rugged-looking man sitting opposite him cursed and said, that Qin Tianming of the lower realm's ethereal immortal sect is also something else. He clearly seized a supreme bone, and became a half-step almighty invincible in the same realm. Yet he actually let a little brat in the dragon transformation secret realm slay him. These two were both members of the 5 kings of the upper realm's ethereal immortal sect. Under circumstances where the vice sect master does not come out, the 5 of them had the greatest right to speak. While you were saying these words, I have already dispatched the left and right protectors. After a green-clad woman standing at the door of the main hall said this to the two of them, she turned and left the main hall. On the other side, after Chen Luoyi and I left that cliff, we went straight to a small town. Where is the secret realm you spoke of? Walking on the street, I casually asked Chen Luoyi. Chen Luoyi opened her mouth. The secret realm is in the central state. The region we are currently in. Is Qingzhou separated from the central state by several regions? Unless we have a teleportation magical artifact. Otherwise we can only travel for half a month. But that's fine too. By the time we arrive there, in about another 3 days the secret realm will be opening. Where are the teleportation magical artifacts? I didn't listen to the extra words at all, and only heard the method to arrive quickly. Don't even think about it. Things like teleportation magical artifacts. Only families or sects with profound foundations have them. Hearing this, I frowned and thought. Right at this moment 2 voices came from behind. Are you Lin Yi, who came from the lower realm? Can't be wrong. That aura of the enemy of our ethereal immortal sect is very dense. Kill him. I turned around to look towards the source of these 2 voices, and saw 2 men dressed in black and white long robes standing on a roof in the distance. Just by looking at the auras of the 2 of them, I could feel that both of their strengths were at the peak of the half-step almighty, not inferior to my own. It's the black and white left and right protectors of the ethereal immortal sect. Chen Luoyi said, looking at those two standing in the distance. Two peak half-step almighties. Chen Luoyi turned around and smiled. Need me to lend a hand? If you can't handle it, I can help you take out one. Of course I won't kill them. I don't want to be tainted with a mark. I will kill the people of the ethereal immortal sect with my own hands one by one. You just watch from the side. I glanced at Chen Luoyi. And immediately golden light flashed in my palm. And the ancient heavenly scale halberd appeared in my hands. Seeing this, the left and right protectors of the ethereal immortal sect in the distance also rapidly unleashed their spiritual energy. At the same time the terrifying spiritual energy was unleashed, the entire town turned into flying ash in merely an instant. Countless living beings couldn't even manage a chance to run away. As expected of the ethereal immortal sect's methods. Ever since Luo Qingxian, the sect master of the ethereal immortal sect, went missing, this ethereal immortal sect has gradually become like an evil path. Chen Luoyi raised her hand and used spiritual energy to protect herself. The spiritual energy fluctuations caused by the other party hit Chen Luoyi's protective shield, only causing slight ripples. Stand further away. After saying this to Chen Luoyi, my gaze looked at the ruins around me. The originally bustling scene of the town no longer existed. Kill! Seeing Chen Luoyi move far away, I swung the ancient heavenly scale halberd in my hands. A terrifying golden beam whipped towards the black and white left and right protectors. Great Ruin Return Slash. The black right protector summoned a scythe from his body, and immediately slashed 100 zhong thick crescent slash towards me. The 100 zhong thick crescent slash directly swallowed my golden beam, and rushed straight to bombard and kill me with an irresistible coercion. I looked at the incoming crescent moon, without the slightest panic. I raised my hands and formed seals. The thick clouds behind me broke open in an instant. An index finger 100 zhong thick tore through space. In the next second, at the instant, the index finger and the crescent slash collided. The desolate aura and the sharp slash intertwined together. The powers between the two were constantly colliding and cancelling each other out. As the collision continued, the desolate aura on the index finger gradually eroded the power of the crescent slash. Finally, the crescent slash was completely routed by the index finger, turning into countless fragments and dissipating in the air. And after routing the crescent slash, that massive index finger did not stop. It continued to advance forward, pressing straight towards the enemy who issued the slash. And after witnessing all of this, the black right protector also revealed a look of horror in his eyes. Didn't they say this kid was only in the dragon transformation secret realm? How is he suddenly a Sendai half-step almighty? One finger makes it seem like I'm playing favorites. Then second finger shatters mountains and rivers. As my voice fell, a second finger also rapidly appeared above the void. Its might was like landslides and earthcracks filled with endless destructive power. Quickly execute defensive martial arts. The white left protector shouted anxiously to the black right protector. There's no time. His attack is too fast. Let's take it head on using space. Looking at the fingers several hundred zhong thick that had arrived in front of them, the black and white left and right protectors' faces changed drastically. That desolate aura pressed right against their faces. As an explosion rang out, deep fissures appeared as if trying to tear the entire earth apart. The noise gradually faded away. And inside the deep pit, several hundred zhong deep in the distance, the black and white left and right protectors slowly flew out from it. At this moment the two had long lost the arrogant air they had when they first appeared. Covered in a sorry state, their chests heaved. In the instant the two fingers of the great desolation, imprisoning heavenly finger, erupted just now. The two of them staked their maximum power to open spatial teleportation, forcefully using space to divert 1/3 of my attack. But even so, the black and white left and right protectors were now also heavily injured. This guy is so ferocious. The black right protector clutched his chest. As this sentence was spat out, he only felt a sweetness in his throat. And a mouthful of blood mixed with internal organs sprayed out from his mouth. To still be able to survive is truly not easy. Then what will you do about the third finger next? Looking at the black and white left and right protectors climbing up from the several hundred zhong deep pit, I didn't pause either. Immediately executing the third finger of the great desolation, imprisoning heavenly finger. Third finger extinguishes living beings.